Someone says 10 nice things about you today, you'll forget most of them by tomorrow. Someone says one cruel thing, you'll remember it for years, maybe decades. You can probably recall an insult from middle school right now, word for word, including the tone of voice. But can you remember a single compliment from that same year? Most people can't. Your brain isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was built to do. This is called negativity bias, and it's not a flaw in your thinking, it's a feature. One that was installed long before you were born, long before language, long before anything that looks like modern human life. Think about your ancestors for a moment. Not your grandparents, your ancestors from 50,000 years ago, living in small groups, surrounded by things that could kill them. A rustle in the grass might be wind, or it might be a predator. A strange berry might be food, or it might be poison. A look from another person in the group might mean nothing, or it might mean you were about to be pushed out, left behind, abandoned to survive alone. Here's the question. If you're one of those ancestors, which mistake cost you more? Missing a good thing or missing a bad thing? If you ignore a ripe berry bush, you're a little hungrier today. Annoying, but survivable. If you ignore the sound of a predator, you might not survive the afternoon. The math is brutal and simple. Bad information had to weigh more than good information because the cost of missing it was so much higher. Psychologist Roy Baumeister studied this exact pattern in the late 1990s. He and his colleagues reviewed research across emotions, memory, relationships, even how we process information on a daily basis. Their conclusion became one of the most cited findings in psychology. Bad is stronger than good. Not sometimes, almost always. Negative events, negative feedback, negative experiences, they all stick harder, last longer, and influence us more than positive ones of equal size. This shows up everywhere once you start looking for it. A relationship can survive years of small kindnesses, but a handful of cruel words can end it. One study found that it takes roughly 5 positive interactions to balance out the emotional damage of a single negative one. 5 to 1. That's the exchange rate your brain runs on. Now, think about your own memory. Your brain stores experiences differently depending on how threatening they feel. Negative experiences get tagged for deeper processing. Your amygdala, the small almond-shaped structure sitting deep in your brain, lights up more intensely for negative information. And once it lights up, it pulls in other systems. Your hippocampus, which handles memory formation, starts working overtime. The result? A stronger memory. A memory with more detail. A memory that resurfaces more easily, especially late at night when there's nothing else competing for your attention. That's why an insult from years ago can resurface at 2 a.m. with perfect clarity. The exact words, the exact face, maybe even the exact smell of the room. Meanwhile, a compliment from last week is already fading, already half forgotten, filed away in some folder your brain doesn't bother to reopen. There's a name for this specific phenomenon too. Researchers sometimes call it the fading affect bias. But here's a twist. It only applies to positive memories. Negative memories don't fade the same way. Their emotional sting stays sharp, sometimes for life, while positive memories soften and blur with time. It's not that your brain is cruel, it's that your brain assumes the bad stuff is more important to remember in detail, just in case it happens again. And this isn't unique to you. It's not a personality flaw, not a sign of pessimism, not something therapy needs to fix in the way people often assume. Every human brain on the planet is running this same program. Scientists have found this bias in toddlers as young as a few months old. Babies look longer at angry faces than happy ones. Before they can speak, before they understand social rules, before they've had any bad experiences to teach them caution, the wiring is already there. Here's where it gets interesting though. This ancient survival tool, perfectly calibrated for a world full of predators and poison berries, is now operating in a completely different environment. You're not dodging leopards anymore. You're scrolling through messages, reading reviews, replaying conversations from work.
And your brain treats a harsh comment online with almost the same intensity it once reserved for a genuine physical threat. One single criticism in a sea of 99 compliments can dominate your entire mental space for the rest of the day. Not because the criticism is more true, not because it's more important, but because your brain is still running software designed for a world where missing a threat could mean death, and missing a compliment just meant nothing. No consequence at all.
This is also why arguments feel so disproportionate. You can have a wonderful day with someone, and then one sharp comment near the end can make the entire day feel ruined in retrospect. Your brain doesn't average the day out. It weights the ending, and it weights the negative moment far more heavily than everything that came before it. Marketers and media know this too, even if they don't always know the psychology behind it. Headlines built around fear, outrage, or threat get more attention, not because people enjoy feeling bad, but because the brain is wired to prioritize anything that signals this might be dangerous over anything that signals this is fine. So what do you do with this information? You can't switch off negativity bias. It's not a setting in your brain you can simply toggle. It's ancient, automatic, and deeply wired into how your memory and attention systems work. But understanding it changes something important. It changes the story you tell yourself about why certain things stick. That insult from years ago doesn't keep coming back because it was true. It keeps coming back because your brain marked it as important survival data and filed it accordingly. The compliment faded not because it didn't matter, but because your brain, in its ancient logic, assumed it was safe to let go of.
Some researchers suggest that actively building in more positive moments more often can help shift the ratio over time. Remember that 5-to-1 balance? It's not about pretending the negative didn't happen. It's about giving your brain enough positive data that the negative doesn't dominate the entire picture. There's also something quietly comforting in knowing this. The next time a single comment ruins your mood for a day, you're not weak and you're not overly sensitive. You're running code that kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Code that was built for a world of saber-toothed cats and poisonous plants. Now running in a world of comment sections and group chats. Someone says 10 nice things about you today. You'll forget most of them by tomorrow. Someone says one cruel thing, you'll remember it for years. And now you know exactly why. It's not because the cruel thing was more true. It's because for most of human history, the cruel thing was the one more likely to get you killed.